This video will be a review of trigonometry. So the first thing when we're looking at trigonometry is that we need to be able to label our triangle correctly based on where our reference angle is. Okay, so our reference angle is the angle that we are given. So I'll call this our reference angle. Okay, and we have three different sides. Those are the opposite, the hypotenuse, and the adjacent. Okay, so if we look at our right angle, which is this box right here, across from our right angle is always the hypotenuse. Always the hypotenuse is across from the right angle. Now we go to our reference angle, and we go across our triangle on our reference angle, and this is the opposite side. Okay, and then we look at the side that's remaining, the side that is next to our reference angle, and a word that means next to is adjacent. Okay, so you're going to have a couple of triangles to label because if we need, that is the key to being able to do our trig, is labeling our triangles. So now that you've been able to label our triangles, we're going to go ahead and look at sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, those are our trigonometric ratios. So hopefully that we're remembering some of these things from earlier this year, but our ratio for sine was opposite over hypotenuse. Our ratio for cosine was adjacent over hypotenuse. And our ratio for tangent was opposite over adjacent. Okay, now we had a handy-dandy mnemonic device that we used to memorize these, and that was SOH, S-O-H, CAH, C-A-H, TOA, T-O-A. Okay, so hopefully that's ringing a bell and sort of jogging your memory as to our trig functions. So we're now going to do three examples of solving problems using our trig functions. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do on this problem is we're going to label our sides. All right, so we have our right angle, and there we go. And the side across from right angle is going to be a hypotenuse. We have our angle. This is our reference angle. I'll go ahead and label that. Reference angle. And then the side across from the reference angle is going to be the opposite side. Okay, so what trig function uses opposite and hypotenuse? That's going to be SOH. So we have sine. So when we set up our equation here, we have the sine of 52 degrees equals the opposite, which is x, over the hypotenuse, which is 20. Now we want to get x by itself. We multiply by 20 on both sides. That eliminates here. X equals 20 times sine 52 degrees. We cannot multiply 20 times 52. We cannot multiply 20 times sine 50 times 52. We have to multiply it by the whole thing, which is sine 52. So I'm going to go ahead and get out my calculator here. And so we have 20 sine 52. That gives me 15.76. I'm going to go to two decimal places here. So x equals 15.76. Okay. Now we're going to go to another problem. So we need to look at our sides. Oh, this is the side that we're solving for. Look at our sides that we know. So here's our reference angle. And then the side across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. The side next to our reference angle is the adjacent side. Okay, so which trig function uses adjacent and hypotenuse? CAH, which is cosine. So we're going to set this problem up as cosine 30 degrees equals adjacent 12 over hypotenuse x. Okay? Now, we always multiply by the denominator. Even though it is a variable, we multiply by the denominator. So multiply by x on both sides. So we get 12 on the right side equals x times cosine of 30 degrees. We're going to now divide by cosine of 30 degrees because we want everything that's on the x side that's not x to go away. So divide by cosine of 30 degrees on both sides. We have x by itself on the left side like we want it equals 12 over cosine 30 degrees. And I'm going to put that exactly in my calculator. Okay, so I have 12 in the numerator and cosine of 30 in the denominator. So I got 13.86 when I round it to the hundredths place. Okay? It is very important that when you multiply on both sides, you always multiply by the denominator. Not by the number, always by the denominator. Now we're going to do one more example. Okay? Now this one we don't have an angle. We're trying to find the angle. So, based on this angle, this is once again our reference angle, we have to label our sides. So we have the side across from our reference angle, which is the opposite side. And we have the side that's next to our reference angle, which is the adjacent side. Okay? So if we have opposite and adjacent, hopefully we said we want to use tangent. Okay? So we want to set this up as tangent question mark equals opposite over adjacent. Now, in order to get the question mark by itself, we have to do the tangent inverse. Tangent inverse on both sides. That's the opposite operation of tangent. Now, if you want to leave it, just start with this rather than do this up here. If you just want to say tangent inverse of 15 over 8, that is fine. Okay? And so we're going to go ahead and put that into the calculator. Now, remember how we get that? We're going to go to second tangent. Second tangent. There's the tan negative 1 button. 15 divided by 8. 61.93. So equals 61.93 degrees. Okay, so there's going to be a few problems for you to do on your own with using trig to solve the triangles.